The Honourable Diane Evers.
Thank you, Madam President. Now, first thing, before I get on to my full member statement, I just want to say how pleased I was to hear that there's an advance in the use of freight on rail. I was delighted with the answer to one of the questions today to know that that's been taken seriously and it's being worked on. There are many people out in the regional areas who will be very pleased to hear that that's going ahead, and I hope to see more of it. But what I do want to speak about today first is Alcoa. Now, I recognize that Alcoa, it presents a wicked problem for us. There's no real answer. Because if we try to enforce the regulations and the rules that they are supposed to abide by, they'll cry poor and at some point just say, look, we're going to leave. And we can't have that happen in the Southwest because they are a very significant employer there. But that doesn't lessen the fact that they are not acting as a responsible corporate citizen. And the people that are gathering across the Southwest for many different reasons are going to raise this issue over and over again until something is done, because, you know, currently they're very price dependent, and right now the price for aluminium is quite high. But just after COVID happened, it did drop to about $1,500 US per ton. Now, although it's climbed back up and it's looking pretty good, and that's making them ramp up the speed at which they're trying to get bauxite out of their mines, that trajectory for that price was falling. And as we start recycling more aluminium, the price will continue to fall because there is enough of it out there that we can continue to reuse it. So I recognize that Alcoa are going to cry poor. I recognize that the federal government just gave them $150 million in Victoria to keep the smelter going there, and that we're going to face the same issue. So what I'd like to see eventually is more industry happening in the Southwest to make up for the fact that one day we may lose Alcoa. And I have to say, it won't be a sorry day when that happens. Because what they're doing, I mean, first off, you have to look at just before the election, on May 9th, they had a spill of 7 million litres of a toxic, caustic substance, a slurry that, because of their equipment, the maintenance on their equipment, which they are not keeping up at the level they should, and I've heard this from people who work there currently. One piece of equipment they were working on, switching it on and off to try to get it restarted. Half an hour later, luckily no one was still in the area. One of the rake from within the container holding the 7 million litres burst through the bottom of it, and the liquid, this slurry, spilled out. Now, this slurry, they say, was contained within the buns. Now, what's interesting is I heard about this the next morning, and I passed on the information so that the poisons control was known about it, so that DWER was informed about it, so that the ABC was informed about it. And you know, all of a sudden, they're trying to put everything in place. They're saying, no problem. It was all contained within the bonded area, except some that spilled over and went into other areas. But it's all okay. We've cleaned it all up. No need to worry. Nothing to see here. Now, I've not yet seen the report from DWER on what happened there. But what is most important at that point is that maintenance is not up to scratch. People's lives are in danger. We are very lucky that no one was injured or died in that accident. And it is the worst accident since in the last 30, 40 years, from what I've heard. Now, I know in 2005 there was a spill of 500,000 litres. And that, you know, a bit of shockwaves around. What are we going to do? Are we going to find them? Have they cleaned it up? What's happening? Here we're talking 7 million litres, and it could have even been more. Because at the time that burst and spilled out, there was still more liquid going into the top of that container. So I would like to hear more. Now, that is in addition to the fact that we've got, you know, long history on this. I've been going through my papers, as some of us in here have been doing, and I've got papers in my office going back before 2000 on Alcoa, because the Greens have been supporting people down there to try to hold Alcoa to account. And it just hasn't got us very far, because every time we work out one issue and they try to fix that, there's several others that are still going wrong. So what we've got there is very little incentive on either side of government to do anything about this, because we don't want to hurt the industry and the jobs. But on the other hand, in addition to having staff, employees' lives at risk now, we also have the the fact that, as I've said many times in here, the trees. The area of Jarrah that they're knocking down, they give FPC a couple of weeks' notice. FPC say, oh, if anybody wants some firewood, the people they deal with come and get some. The rest of it is just bulldozed over, piled up, and burnt. Now, if we think our Jarrah is worth something, why are we burning it in situ? It makes no sense whatsoever. Then what happens is they take out all the bauxite from where the Jarrah grows, because Jarrah grows best in areas with high bauxite content. Take it back, and then they revegetate it. But the Jarrah is not going to grow as well. Plus, they don't always revegetate it, well, from the past. They've always said they do best practice, but in the past, it's been best practice with exotic species. Then it was best practice by just throwing in as much seeds and seedlings as they possibly could. Now it's best practice by hilling the land in a way and creating bunds to try to keep the water near the trees that they're planting. But, we were just talking about firefighting. Imagine going in to fight a fire in there when you've got this completely corrugated landscape, because that's what they built to try to keep the water in there. It's changing everything. So they're damaging our landscape. They're damaging our Jarrah forest. We've got a lot of community groups down there. There's the Dwelling of Discovery Forest group. There's the Save Our Jarrah group, because they're desperately trying to hold on to little pockets of beautiful Jarrah forest near their towns, which are good for tourism, which are good for the community, just trying to hold on to those. So I really beg of this government, please listen to these people. Please try to keep it, to work with the community groups, to try to hold Alcoa from making more and more damage that we just don't need. Now, on top of this, you've got the noise issues. They consistently go over the levels of noise that they're supposed to do. And what do they tell people? They say, oh, give us a call. So possibly, if you get through and you get to somebody and you say, it's noisy, it's over the limit, then they'll say, oh, all right, okay, we'll do something about that. And maybe they will, maybe they won't, shut something down for a half an hour, whatever, and then just start it up again, because that's what they do. They say, oh, it's just because of the wind direction is toward you. So that's not working. And dust. I've just been down to Pinjarra visiting some people who have dust. They've had samples done. The samples come out the same as what Alcoa's mudflats have from their processes. Pinjarra has been living with this dust coming in. Now, we don't have very good health records, but there has been some studies done going back to find rates of cancer. And it appears that there is a link here, but it's very hard to get that information together. It would cost a considerable amount of money. We've got some dramas happening with Alcoa operating in the Southwest, and they're not abiding by the conditions of their state agreement, because these issues just keep happening. So we do have a very difficult problem. We know it's a large employer. We know it provides royalties. Luckily, we've got royalties coming in from so many other things. Maybe this one isn't so important. But I think we need to prepare for the day when maybe we don't have Alcoa there. And even though it's got a State Agreement Act, and I believe it's got till around 2045 or so, I believe that we really need to be keeping an eye on this to make sure that we hold them to account. So, as it stands, Alcoa are losing their social license. They are putting profit ahead of safety, ahead of the communities they operate within, and ahead of the health of the people and the environment. To make it even worse, it appears that the department, and I take this to be the government, cares little about holding them to account, to ensure Alcoa meets its responsibilities and to ensure that the environment is protected. So please listen. Please listen to people who would like to protect themselves, their environment, their home, and recognize that Alcoa must be held accountable. The safety risk alone should cause something to occur to make sure that this does not get worse and that it is not allowed to continue at the state it is.